Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to do a review for you. I'm going to do kind of a close-up look of the Fix-It Grammar program that we're using. Now this is put out for Institute for Excellence in Writing, and we do their writing, and I really liked it a lot. And so when I heard about Fix-It Grammar, I was definitely interested in checking it out. And so we have just started. This is brand new for us this year, so we've only been using it for a couple of weeks so far. I think we're on week 6 right now. So I'll do kind of an updated review once we get closer to the end of the year and we've had a little bit more time to go through it and that kind of thing. But I did want to show you what it looks like and how we use it in our homeschool. They've had a lot of questions about it, and so maybe it'll help some of you out. So in order to do this program, now this I started with my 3 older kids, and so I do want to say that this is slightly easy for my older 2 just because they're in 7th and 8th grade. The reason I started with level 1 though is because we've never used this program before. And just looking at the next levels up, some of the things that they were assuming that you already knew from level 1 weren't explained as well in those levels, and I just didn't want them to be lost and confused and all that. So I just thought it might be easiest to just start straight off from their level, and we are just going to work through this a little bit faster than you normally would. So in order to do this program, you are going to need to get the student book. You're also going to need to get the teacher's manual as well. They look the same, so it's easy to tell what you're doing. And then you'll also need another spiral notebook or some kind of journal book for your student to write in, because they will be rewriting the sentences in this book, and they'll also be writing vocabulary words in here as well. So they just need something. It can just be one of those kind of cheapy spirals. My older daughter picked this just because these are her favorite colors, so we just went with this book thing, but you don't have to have this. Now I purchased the ones that they print and send to you in spiral bind and all of that, but you can purchase these as PDF downloads and then just print them yourself. I just kind of didn't want to hassle with it, and I want to say this was $15 for the student workbook, and it's $20, $19 for the teacher's manual. So they're not too bad. I did buy 3 of these, one for each of my students, but like I said, you could buy the download and save yourself some money. I just kind of didn't want to deal. So, but you do need the student workbook, the teacher's manual, and then some other form of journaling notebook or spiral or something for your kids to write in. So let's take a closer look at what this curriculum looks like. All right, so here is what the student book and the teacher's manual look like. They're virtually identical, and they are also very similar on the inside as well, except for that the teacher's manual actually has the teacher's notes and the answers and all of that. So let's take a look at the student notebook first. All right, so on the inside of the student manual or the student workbook, on the left side, at the beginning of each new week, there's instructions on what to do, what to look for, how to mark it. It kind of tells them what the things are, and then it also tells them if they have any little kind of flashcards in the back of the book, and I'll show you those in a minute as well, just to kind of help them out. And you can either read these to your student or you can have it do them independently. Since 3 of my kids are doing these, we actually read them together, and that way if they have any questions they can ask me and whatnot. And then on the other side, they've got their sentences, and how IEW works is they're supposed to do 1 sentence per day, and then up here at the top it tells them exactly what they need to mark, how to mark it, what they need to look for, and all of that. And then they go through and they mark all of the sentences with the things that the IEW or the Fix-It Grammar has told them to mark. And then any of these words that are bold printed are their vocabulary words, and so they have to take those words and then write them out in a separate spiral notebook and just, remember what the vocabulary words are. Now I do like vocabulary this way because they're learning it in the context of a story, and I think that that really helps. So they get out the dictionary. Right now we're just using our iPads and phones and that kind of thing, but we just look up the word, and then they have to write down the definition that best fits the word as it is appearing in this sentence. And so I do like that quite a bit. I also like that up here it's telling them exactly what to look for, and like I said, on the other side it kind of gave them the explanation of those things if they aren't sure. In the very back of their student workbook are these cards, and these cards are basically like flashcards, and it just helps them remember what they need to be looking for, and it tells them what week that information was in as well. So on the front, you're supposed to cut these out and put them in some kind of a like a little box or something. For right now, I'm just having my kids leave them in the back, and they just have a little tab on them, and then that way they can just look really quick if they need to. It just seemed easier to me. But anyways, it has what they are needing to look for, like articles or nouns or whatever, and then on the back side of that, they actually have the definition for that thing, so that it makes it a lot easier for them to be able to look those up if they forget. You know, their samples, for example, articles, a, and the, and they set up a noun and that kind of thing. So that's really helpful. They're just like little flashcards that kind of help them remember what they're supposed to be working on if they can't remember, like, what is a noun, what is a verb, what is an adjective, whatever. So since this is the very first level, all they're looking for right now are end marks, quotation marks, nouns, articles, and now we've moved on to pronouns and who, which clauses, which if you're doing IEW, your kids will already know what that is. But it's just, for example, in the morning, the soldiers who were dumbfounded by the events of the night before shared their stories of the little man. So they had to pick out a homophone of there, which is a commonly misused homophone. They had to write down dumbfounded, the bolded word, write down the definition for it, and then they had to pick out the articles, which they did, and then any nouns in here, and then the who, which clause. So they do that one sentence every day. Right now we're doing a couple of sentences per day just because my kids are a little bit older and this is really too easy for them. I think if you're starting this in 3rd grade when they suggested, it would be perfect to just do the one sentence per day. It's not too overwhelming. So the first thing they do is they'll read their instructions at the beginning of the week. They don't reread them on days 2 through 4. There's just not really any need for that. They come in, mark all of their sentences, do any fixes they need, look up the vocabulary word, and then they all have a side spiral notebook or whatever. This is a notebook my daughter had picked out. And they come back over here and then they rewrite the sentences in this notebook. And then I just put a little smiley face as I'm grading them just so that I know that they rewrote it and I checked it and all of that. And so by the end of this, they will have rewritten this entire story. So this is how far in we are. And then back here, she also has a little tablet where she writes all of her vocabulary words down. And then she can refer back to this if she needs to or whatever. But this is just how far in we are, so you can kind of see what she's doing. So that's every day. It takes probably about 15 minutes. And as you can see, her notebook just has the sentences and the instructions. My teacher's manual looks like this. It basically looks the same on the outside. However, as you can see, it has quite a few more notes in it. So let's get back to her sentence we just were doing. All right, so here's what the teacher's manual looks like. As you can see on this left side, it has the exact same writing and instructions that the student manual had. And then there are some side notes in the margin here, you know, just to kind of help you out, or if there's a tricky word, or just any kind of little side notes that you might need. And I usually will tell my kids those if they are appropriate as well. And then here is what the teacher's manual looks like for day 1. So here's the sentences, and then above that in bold are all the things that they should have marked. Here are the definitions, so it makes it really easy for you to check their definitions without also looking up the words yourself. There's also a few extra notes if something's going to take longer, or if there's a confusing word in there, or if something's not marked here but your child marked it. There are some nouns that are like more advanced nouns, and so it will explain that in here as well, you know, and just any kind of additional information that you might need, because sometimes, you know, my kids will mark something and then it's not marked as a noun up here, but then down here you'll find that word and it'll say this is actually a noun, so it's okay if they marked it. It's an advanced noun, so it's okay if they didn't, and here's why. And that's really helpful for me as well, and so that I can kind of give that information to them. And we do this more of as kind of a discussion. We do I usually have them do the sentences by themselves. Every now and then, if I see a lot of fixes in there, we'll do it as a group. It kind of depends on our time for the day. It also makes it easier if I have them do it independently. I can just pull out my teacher's manual, find their answers, and just check them off really quick. Now, as far as grading goes with this, this is, let's see, week 1, or this is week 6 here. So let's just take a look back here farther into the back. This one's probably a good one. This is week 29. And as you can see, there are quite a bit more fixes in here and than there were, because before we were really just on nouns, articles, pronouns, and homophones. And let's get to day 1 where it explains everything that they need to look for. So they're working on adjectives this week. We've got pronouns, verbs, articles, still, let's see, what else? capitalization, making sure that you capitalize, which I like. The other thing I like that working in English like this is that they're rewriting the story, so they're already getting a handle on how to form a proper paragraph and, you know, indenting paragraphs and capitalizing sentences and all of those kinds of things. And it's nice to see those being worked on and taught and focused on, because it's like they're learning kind of one skill at a time, and it just, I think, makes it slightly easier for them to add more and more and more to that as they get throughout the year. Now here's what the same lesson looks like in the student notebook, week 29, and as you can see there are quite a few more things that they need to look for. We're looking for prepositions, adverbial clauses. There's actually several up here that ly words, if you're doing and this really does correlate well with the IEW writing, because a lot of these things are familiar to my children because we've been doing that, and so it's not like you know, you certainly don't have to do them both, but it is kind of a nice comparison if you're thinking about it. So just looking up here at the things that they're needing to do, and then looking up here at the beginning, you can see that they really do progress throughout the year with more and more work. More and more terms being introduced and that they're having to search for, and at the same time they're actually completing a story. So that is one thing that I really liked about this program, is that this is a book, the Nostri, and essentially what we're doing is we're editing this book, which is actually kind of a cool concept. Not only are they learning the material of the book that they're editing, they're also learning how to edit something in the context of a written document, which I really like. They're learning kind of by default proper formation of paragraphs and things like that. And they're also kind of learning, you know, what writing should sort of look like and what a good story looks like, and how to use, you know, strong adjectives and verbs and things like that. So as opposed to a more traditional English curriculum where they might just be editing random sentences or diagramming sentences and things like that that aren't really a part of something bigger, in this one they're working on sentences, but those sentences are a part of a larger story. And so each week they're doing 4 sentences. Like I said, you can actually, I've increased this so that my kids are doing a few sentences per day just because they're a little bit older and I think that they can handle it. But whatever works better for your children. And then at the end of the year, essentially you'll have written the entire story out in your notebook over here. So I really do kind of like the concept. I like how it's going for us so far, and we'll kind of see how, you know, the year progresses and that kind of thing. And if it starts getting where they're marking so many things and it's taking longer, you know, we'll slow back down to maybe 1 sentence per day or whatever. We'll kind of see. And then at the end of the year, I'll try and do another update on how we're feeling about this curriculum, if we still like it, you know, and how it's relating with test scores and things like that, if you're concerned about that, because we do testing. So I'm anxious to see if it improves their test scores, or you know, I really want them to have an understanding of the English language, not just do a bunch of worksheets. And I'm hoping that doing it in this kind of a format where they're actually editing a written, you know, like a book, I'm hoping that that will actually really kind of improve their skills on writing, on reading, their vocabulary, and also you know, just the understanding overall of the English language and how it can flow and how it can be edited, because I think that's a really strong skill to learn. I know that I have a few people who help me edit my books and my curriculum and things like that, and there's always room for error in that kind in editing, and it's a great skill to have. And so I'm really hoping that this curriculum will be successful for us this year. Again, I will let you know. I do believe that they recommend it starting at grades 3. I wouldn't do that before. My youngest is in grade 2 and she is not doing this year. They do need to be able to read and write fairly well before you kind of tackle something like this. I think in grade 2 you're still working on more like sentences and, you know, capitals at the beginning and punctuation at the end and things like that. Whereas with this, they're really starting to delve more into sentence structure and that kind of thing. So grades 3 and up, I am using the same grade with all 4 of my kids, or all 3 of my older kids this year, just because we are starting with a new one. So that is what the curriculum looks like. So
Alright guys, so I hope this review has helped you out. As I mentioned, we've only been using this curriculum for about 6 weeks, and so we aren't that far into it, but I will say that I do really like it, and I think that my kids like it as well. One of the things that I like and that they have shown interest in is that they're editing a story, and so it's like a continuation. So each week they get to find out more and more about the story, so they're really learning the material that they're reading, first of all. Second of all, I like that they're learning sort of, it's just reinforcing the proper formation of paragraphs, writing styles, use of colorful adjectives and verbs and things like that.
So I like that it's really, I think, going to also improve their writing as well as their understanding of grammar just as a whole. The other thing I like is that it does take less time. Like I said, we only spend about 15 minutes or so doing this, which, in comparison to 30 minutes doing like a more traditional English, I think has been nice for everybody as well. So like I said, since we've only been using it for 6 weeks, I think I will do an updated review for you farther on into the year once we've had a chance to really dig into this, and once I can see whether or not it's really improving their understanding of grammar and that kind of thing. So I am really enjoying this. I hope that it will continue to be successful for us for the rest of the year. I will do an updated review for you once we get farther into it, but I did want to get this out for you quickly so that you guys could see it up close. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to email me at erica@confessionsofahomeschooler.com, and there's also a lot more information on my website. I will link all of that stuff for you below. So I hope you enjoyed this Tip Tuesday, and I will see you next time.